Hello, and welcome to Creepycore and Folklore, the show about creatures, encounters, old tales, and myths. I'm your host, Iona Wayland, a dark fantasy author, mental health professional, and overall curious person. I want to join other spooky souls and hear about these unusual stories. Hello, spooky soul. This episode is extra special. We're visiting with our first ever CCFL guest. Joining us today is best-selling author, esteemed YouTuber, lovely doggy mom, and cyborg queen herself, Jenna Moreci. We're going to talk about premonitions, ghosts, maybe even a shadow figure or two, and of course, all about her next book coming out later this month. Welcome, Jenna. I'm so excited you're here. Thanks for taking time out of your crazy release month to speak with me and this fellow spooky soul who's listening.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an absolute honor to be here. So, like Iona said, my name is Jenna Moreci. I am a #1 Amazon bestselling author of the Savior series. The first two books are out. They're called The Savior's Champion and The Savior's Sister. And we got The Savior's Army, the sequel, coming out later, possibly this year. We'll find out.
Ooh.
We'll find out. Outside of that, I am also a YouTuber. I've got my channel, Writing with Jenna Moreci, where I give tons of writing advice with a healthy dose of sarcasm and humor. And I am also about to release my very first writing craft book. It has already hit #1 on multiple Amazon bestselling lists, which is amazing. It's called Shut Up and Write the Book. And
I'm so excited.
Thank you.
I'm totally interrupting to just scream how excited I am.
Well, I'm excited too, and it's a step-by-step guide for anyone who's looking to write a piece of fiction and they don't really know what they're doing. It's a guide that breaks down the whole novel writing process from the first spark of an idea all the way to publishing it. So yeah, I'm very, very excited about it.
That's amazing. Thank you for being here. So you have told me before about different interesting moments that you've had and that maybe you've received messages from the other side. What's a story or stories that you'd like to share about that?
Well, oh my goodness, where do I begin? I mean, there are definitely people out there who have experienced wilder things than me, but I have had a handful of experiences that were not normal. I'll just put it that way. For my whole entire life, for as long as I can remember, I've always had very vivid, weird dreams. And once I reached a certain age, sometimes the dreams got a little bit more specific or a little bit supernatural, I guess. I've had dreams, I guess you could call them premonition dreams, where the thing that I dreamt about came true. I've had dreams where, long past relatives were delivering information to me, and then the thing that they said was going to happen ended up happening. And I've had the wonderful experience of, seeing shadow figures, which we all love. Everyone loves a shadow figure standing next to their bed.
Such a lovely way to wake up. Or just
except I can't wake up. I mean,
oh man. Okay.
I'm awake, but I can't move. So I'm just the shadow figure that I distinctly remember is I was lying in bed and I'm awake. And it's this little child size black figure, and it's
I don't like it.
No, I did not either. And it was just walking toward my bed in slow motion, and it's just getting closer and closer, and I cannot move. And I'm just like, what is this? What is this little gingerbread man gonna do to me? That's what it reminded me of. The way it moved,
like the outline of it's ominous gingerbread.
Right, it reminded me of the gingerbread man in Shrek, except
God,
child size.
Run as fast as you can, but you can't.
Right, exactly. And then eventually, once it got really close to the bed, I was able to force my arm out and turn on the light. And when I turned on the light, it disappeared. And,
okay.
And then I wasn't able to sleep well for a year.
Oh yeah, because that gives me spider vibes, where you're like, oh God, there's a spider there, and then you turn around. I don't personally kill spiders. I release them like a hippie. But like I'm like, okay, little dude, you're kind of freaking me out, but you can't like really stay here. So I'm just gonna help you leave. And I turn around and it's gone. But it's worse because it's an ominous shadow gingerbread man child.
Where did you go? So yeah, for like a year after that, I would just lay in bed at night like, oh, I don't want to go to sleep because I'm gonna wake up paralyzed, and there's gonna be Gingy standing at the foot of the bed like,
No.
hello, hello.
It's the worst. It's also way more ominous because it's like small and moving so slowly. I don't know, you just have to like watch it happen. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's something really creepy about children, like ghostly
Mhm.
children, you know?
Mhm.
That's why
There
is that
is.
worse than
It is
adults?
so much, it's unnatural, you know.
Yeah.
But I know that you were talking about some of the dreams that you've had before, and you and I are both very vivid dreamers. I think you more so than I do because yours potentially have connections to the other side. So, what were some things that you've experienced that way?
Well, the first one is going to sound so petty and just sound like a paranoid
I live for the
teenager.
pettiness. I love paranoid, petty teen energy. I think that's fine.
Okay, good. But it's one of those things where it was just so hyper specific that there was no way that, you know what I mean? Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
absolutely no way. But basically, I had a boyfriend at the time and we were in like a really happy relationship. We had no problems at all. Like everything
Mm-hmm.
was just hunky dory. And one night I had a dream that his ex-girlfriend came over and spent the night. And, you know, I dreamt
Mm.
about her sleeping over. And then the next morning they wake up. And I didn't even know the ex-girlfriend, you know, I just
Mm-hmm.
knew she existed.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, having breakfast with the family and everyone loves her. Like the whole family is super happy that she's there. And when I
Interesting.
woke up in the morning, you know, I called him and I told him, oh my gosh, I just like, I didn't call him in the morning, but, you know, I eventually called him and I was
Yeah.
like, did anything weird happen last night? Because I had the most vivid dream that your ex-girlfriend slept over and your whole family was super inviting and welcoming to her. And it was just like, it made me so uncomfortable. And he was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. No, nothing like that happened. And then a week later, I was at school, you know, just let
Mm-hmm.
it go. We later, I was at school and I was talking to a friend of mine who was a mutual friend with the boyfriend and his sister,
Mm-hmm.
and she had slept over that night. And she was like, "And wasn't it so crazy that they invited his ex-girlfriend to sleep over?" And they were like, "And yeah, like his mom." They were like, "Yeah, it was like partially her idea. She invited her to sleep
Ew.
over. They made breakfast for everyone, and
Ew.
it
Ew. Exactly like
it."
that. Ew. Okay. Ew. Sorry. Keep going. I just keep
And
screaming ew.
I just remember sitting there frozen, like, are
Mm-hmm.
you serious? Because, like I said, it's not like there were any hints or anything. Everything had been totally normal in our relationship, and then that happened.
Yeah.
And I called him and I told him, like, I told you about the dream. How come you didn't tell me? And he, this is so pathetic, but he's like, my mom told me not to tell
Oh
you.
my God.
And then his mom called me and was like, it's my fault. I just really love her. So I wanted her
Oh
to stay.
my God. That's awful.
And so from that was the first time I'd ever had like a premonition dream. And so from that point forward, anytime I had a dream that was terrible, I'd wake up totally paranoid, you know, like this is going to come true, you know. So if I dream that I'm
Yeah.
dying, I'm like, I'm going to die, you know, like
Yeah. That's going to mess with anxiety like a lot.
yeah. And I mean, like that, you know, when you're 16, it's already bad, you know, like
It
there's already so
is.
much bad stuff going on. So
See, I don't
that
think
was
that's
fun.
petty at all. I think that is
Okay.
such a very specific premonition. And
Yeah,
also,
well, I've told
yeah,
a few people and they were like, "Oh, you were just, you know, being paranoid." And I'm like, "The exact same scenario
but
happened."
like yeah, okay, yes, it's anecdotal, whatever, who the hell cares, but like the exact situation happened. It kind of reminds me of what some people can do with crystal balls, you know, like where they can
Mm-hmm.
see into it and they can see other people. And sometimes people think there's like this fringe theory that whenever you're in a deep sleep that you can enter other like quantum realms or something. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's possible that maybe you were like seeing it happen, which I
Yeah,
think is
that
creepy.
I've seen a theory that sleep is like astral projection. So
Mm.
maybe I astral projected there and was like floating around like you bitch,
That
watching everything.
how could you do this to me? No,
Right.
well, I think that like that kind of sucks for you, because if you're gonna go on like an astral projection tour, you might as well fly past like the Eiffel Tower or some shit and not have to like
Right.
be witness to like somebody cheating. That sucks.
Right. I might as well see the pyramids or
Yeah,
something.
go
Like,
to
let
the
me.
pyramids. Yes. Or like
Yeah.
Patagonia or something. Just float around. Like, I don't know. Somewhere else, anywhere else.
The
But
Colosseum.
the Colosseum, yes. See, it's research. Your astral projection needs to be productive.
Exactly.
And in case you don't know, Jenna Moreci's dark fantasy series, the Savior series, is based off of medieval Rome.
Mhm.
And so
And
I was,
Greece. And Greece. Don't
oh,
forget
and
Greece.
Greece. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so Greek and Rome medieval times, but also like it's fantasy too. So there's also tons of cool twists to it. But that's why I'm like, she could do research this way.
Yeah.
Because that's literally where it's based.
Exactly. Exactly.
The next one I was wondering about was any kind of like messages you got from family members that passed away, or any experiences with family members that passed away after they were gone.
So I have the two most distinct experiences. I've had multiple, like, it's kind of like a blurred line. Is that just like a weird dream or
Mm-hmm.
whatever? But
Mm-hmm.
I have two experiences that were kind of hard to deny. And
Mm-hmm.
the first one was another dream experience. My grandma passed away,
Mm-hmm.
and this wasn't shortly after she passed away. This was years later. And I didn't really dream about her ever. But this one night I was dreaming, I was sleeping and dreaming, and I dreamt that there was a knock at the door, and I opened the door and it was my grandma.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, grandma. I was like, what are you doing here? She's like, oh, I came to see your father. And I was like, but you're dead. And she's like, I know. And she goes up the stairs and she's like, I have to tell your father something very, very important. And
Mm-hmm.
she goes up the stairs and I follow her because I'm like excited to see my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And I listen to her conversation. And basically, I don't want to give the specifics because it is about, private family stuff. Not so much my immediate
Yeah.
family, but extended family. I don't want to
Right.
overstep.
Right. Right.
But she basically told my dad to tell one of his brothers that something bad was going to happen at a very specific time frame. It was something
Mm-hmm.
like in a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a very specific, like, it's going to happen between this month and this month
Mm-hmm.
in this year. And she said, just, so if your brother doesn't stop what he's doing, this thing is going to happen in this time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, okay, bye, good to see you. And I was like, all right, I guess that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So I woke up and I felt really, really weird about it, and it was just so specific. So I went and talked to my dad, and I said, Dad, I don't know, like, this is really weird, take it or leave it,
Yeah.
but I just want you to know that I dreamt about grandma. And she
Yeah.
said blah 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 blah. And he was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, cool. And he was super nice about it.
That's good.
I'm sure he didn't do anything about it, but basically, long story short, the year and a half later, within that time frame that she said, if my uncle didn't change, this thing would happen. Well, he didn't change, and the thing happened. So
That sucks. And also, like, it's such a shame whenever we lose grandparents, but I also think it's cool that she was like, hey, so I know I'm dead. I like how she's like, yeah, I know. I'm
right,
just here to give a message. Listen, you need to just
right.
tell your dad this thing.
And it
Um,
made sense for her to tell him. And I think that she couldn't like go directly to him
uh-huh.
because I'm the one with the weird dream problems. So she's like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I will go to his daughter and tell her to tell him,
You need to be the messenger at this point.
Right. Exactly.
That's really cool that would not that whatever happened to your uncle happened, but just more like that.
It was
So
inevitable.
specific. You're like, it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But that's it. But it's cool that like you were able to have that kind of like connection with her, and then also like be able to try and warn in a way. Because even if, like you're saying, it's inevitable, it's kind of cool that like it gave your grandmother someone to talk to when she was like worried about one of her kids.
Right. And I feel like, well, at least she knows that, she got the message out,
She
you
did.
can't help it if, one of your sons is the way he is. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying too much.
I've already said too much.
Right.
That's so funny. Well,
But
the other one, the grandfather one. Oh, sorry. I did not mean to
that's okay. Go.
interrupt.
You go, you go.
So the next one I think you're talking about was related to your grandfather.
Right. And this was on my mom's side. My grandpa had recently passed and he was a veteran. So that needs to be thrown out there. So he had a burial
Mm-hmm.
flag
Mm-hmm.
that all the veterans get when they pass.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to come up a little bit later. But we were in the hospital room when he passed. You know, they had to essentially, you know, pull the plug. And
Mm-hmm.
it was very sad. Everyone was
Mm-hmm.
sitting there and crying.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I should, I'm just going to say it. My mom had always joked that I was like his favorite granddaughter
Mm-hmm.
because he was really into the stock market and finance. I had a degree in finance, all that stuff. So I think,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like,
You have that connection with him.
yeah, exactly. So when he passed away, everyone was sitting in the room crying, everyone was sad. And then I
Mm-hmm.
got this very like just a few seconds after he passed away, I got this very overwhelming physical feeling
Mm-hmm.
of the only way I could describe it is like a rush of carbonation passing through my body.
Interesting.
Like it felt like fizzy bubbles popping everywhere. And
Interesting.
I remember it was so overwhelming, and it wasn't an emotional thing. It was
Mm-hmm.
100% just feeling like fizzy bubbles all under
Mm-hmm.
my skin. It was a
Mm-hmm.
very weird feeling. And I looked around the room like, is anyone else feeling this? But everyone else is just bawling their eyes out. And I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is just a me thing. And so it like passed through and then it went away. And I
Mm-hmm.
looked it up and, because I was like, well, what was that? And I looked
Mm-hmm.
it up and everything I saw online said that people have experienced similar things when like a soul is kind of like passing through you or like,
That's
it's kind of,
so
it could be
interesting.
like a way of saying goodbye or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe that's what it was. I mean, I can't think of any other way to, define it or describe it. And then not that long after, maybe a couple months later, I was over at my parents' house and they have this really big dining room
Mm-hmm.
and like living room, dining room section. It's like the fancy area of the house that no one goes in.
Mm-hmm.
I need to make sure it was mentioned there were no windows open, there was no draft, there was no, extra air or wind,
Mm-hmm.
magical wind. But they had the burial flag on a shelf propped up against the wall. So it was as far from the edge of the shelf as it could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in the room and I was just kind of like looking around. And then just seconds after I walked in the room, the burial flag dropped from the side of the wall, slid off the shelf, and fell to the floor.
Wow.
And I was just like frozen there, like, what just happened? Because it wasn't like it was teetery on the edge and fell over.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was a wind that brushed it over. And
Yeah.
so I went in the other room and I told my family what had happened. And my
Mm-hmm.
sister goes, why does all the cool things happen to you? How come no one's trying to reach
Why are you haunted?
me?
Like, why do
Right.
you get this luxury of
Right.
being contacted by the other side?
But I just thought it was so funny because my family is like way more skeptical than I am. And
Mm-hmm.
even they were like, oh, yeah, grandpa was saying hello,
Yeah,
because
they're like, there's no other thing that
there's
could be going
because it
on.
was away from the edge. It was like it had to have been slid off.
I'm also
So,
imagining like the burial flag, at least with family members that have passed on my side, they like folded into this tight triangle. Is that what it was
yes,
shaped like? Yeah, so it's not even like it's this loose like billowing
right.
fabric. It's the tight triangle that's like pretty
hmm
heavy
Yes,
whenever
it's
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 folded.
heavy and it's
Yeah.
compact and
Yes.
so there was an effort had to have been used to push it
Yes.
off. And I just felt like, oh, that was my grandpa being like, sup.
That's really cool.
Hey,
I
hello.
really
So,
like thinking of it that way.
right. So it was creepy, but cool.
Creepy
Or
cool.
creepy core.
Creepycore and folklore. No, I'm just kidding. We said the name. Did you see what we did?
But
That's amazing. Also, you have alluded to before when I've talked with you about a potential tiny child. I don't know what it is, but the children shaped things following you. But like there's like a haunting of some sort that's a child maybe that's followed you.
I don't know if it's followed me. I don't feel like we're haunted at this house, but
Mm-hmm.
the last house I lived in, it was a townhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. This is another one that was sort of, for a long time I was like, I'm just imagining stuff.
Yeah.
And then later on I was like, nope, I'm not. So
That realization kicking in
right.
later.
So I just, for a long time, I just got a vibe about a, like, I would see a little short figure out of the corner of my eye, and
Mm.
it was dark, but it was always just like a small kind of shadowy figure.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always in the same two spots. It would be, we had the staircase, and it was one of those split level stairs where, like,
Mm-hmm.
it has a little landing.
Mm-hmm.
That split level is right facing the kitchen. So I'd be in the kitchen, and out of the corner of my eye, I would always see this little figure standing there on the split level. And I would go to look, and it's not there anymore.
Mm.
And then every night, at bed around 3 a.m., I would see like a kind of like a dark mass in this one specific corner of the
Mm.
bedroom. And it would get to a point where I would just stare at it, and I wouldn't feel like I could fall asleep because I just felt like I was being watched. And for a long
Mm-hmm.
time, I thought, okay, this is just anxiety. This is just, we're going through a dark time. At the time, my fiance was struggling with a spinal cord injury. And I was like, we're just
Mm-hmm.
going through a dark time, and I'm seeing things.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really think, or I tried not to think too much of it. But
Mm-hmm.
then we got a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Buttercup. And she's a very well-behaved girl. I mean, in terms of dogs, she only barks if someone knocks at the door. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it became this thing where every single night at 3 a.m. she would wake up really frantic
Mm-hmm.
and bark at that corner of the room.
Mm-mm.
The
I
corner.
feel like that's pretty telling. That's
and
kind
it
of
was
indicative.
and it was every night it would be like 3 or like 3:30. It was always around 3.
The
And
witching
just
hour.
right. And then every night she would wake up and bark at that corner. And that's when I told Cliff, I was like, that's the place that I always felt like I saw. I got little boy vibes from what I could see.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, oh, so we've got a little boy ghost. Great. Okay.
Great.
So,
Great. Add that to the list of shit that we're dealing with,
right.
basically.
But he never did anything mean. He
Mm-hmm.
just kind of seemed like a peeping Tom. He was just watching us.
Mm-hmm.
He never slammed doors or anything like that. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't threatening. It was just uncomfortable.
No, like poltergeist type
No.
activity, but just like there, like just
Yeah.
present.
Yeah, keeping us up at night, because at 3 a.m. Butters would freak out, and every single time she was always barking at the same corner of the room. And yeah, so that was fun. But we've moved, and I haven't seen any dark corners. I haven't seen anything out of the corner of my eye,
Mm-hmm.
and Butters has not barked at anything that wasn't there. So I think he's still there at the townhouse.
He stayed at the
whoever bought
townhouse.
it. Yeah.
Welcome to your new home.
Right.
You get to inherit all of this and more. A ghost
Right.
boy.
I'm your roommate.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing all of those experiences. We're gonna do kind of like a little fun game at the end that you're my first interviewee. I know things. You're my first interviewee. And so I kind of want to have like a thing that I do. And so one of those things is the game. And so we're gonna play Would You Rather, but Spooky Soul Edition. Are you prepared?
I am so prepared. I am ready.
Would you rather spend the night in a haunted mansion or a haunted hotel?
I hate both of these options.
Mm-hmm.
A haunted mansion feels more ominous because there's probably a lot more history. Like it's gonna be like generations and generations.
Yes.
But a haunted hotel, I feel like haunted hotels, everyone gets murdered. And I feel like there's no escape because every room is probably haunted. But what if the hotel only has one haunted room? I could just not be in that room.
True. You're trying to find the loophole already.
I don't know. Like, can I just say I'd rather spend a night in the Disney haunted mansion?
Apparently that's really haunted.
Damn it.
Yeah, that's like apparently haunted, and then a lot of people will scatter their loved ones' ashes there.
Okay,
and
never
then
mind.
They get like sucked up in the vacuum. I'm planning on doing a spooky episode about oh my god, I can't think. Disney
The Haunted
World
Mansion.
type. Yeah,
Oh,
Haunted Mansion and Disney World hauntings in the future at some point. But no,
okay. I
so
take
yes,
it back.
you could say it if you wanted to, but it's
No,
kind of
I take it
gross.
back. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna choose a haunted hotel because at least they have like room service and stuff. So
True, true. And
if
some of
I'm
the ghosts might be room service where it's just like, oh, they like heat up your blankets for you, you know?
yeah, so I'm gonna go that route because no matter what, there's murder involved, but at least there's like comfortable murder. Like
Comfortable way.
I can have yummy food and like clean sheets and I don't
Yeah.
have to pay for, or I guess I do have to pay, but I don't have to like do it myself.
Right, right. See, that's funny because I was gonna pick the Haunted Mansion because you can like research beforehand what the
But
hell
you
went
can
on. But
but you
also
can do
you
that
can
with
research.
hotels.
You're right, you're right. And also sometimes haunted mansions have their own, like depending on how big the property or the estate is, they have their own like little cemeteries on it. I know. I
So
know.
cute.
So the next question is, would you rather cross over into the underworld or the Fey realm?
This is not a rational answer, but I'm choosing it anyway. I would rather cross over into the
I knew
underworld
you'd
because
say it. I knew it because it's
yeah,
the aesthetics.
yeah, exactly. It's just the vibe, the aesthetic. I love all things related to hell. Like I just find it very
Uh-huh.
fascinating. I really enjoyed Dante's Inferno.
Hmm.
I would love to just take a tour. You know what I mean? Like I just
Yeah.
want to see
It's
what
like,
it's
I just
like.
want to cross over real quick. Just show me around. More
Right.
fodder for my book series, and then I'll
Exactly.
go.
And also the Fae world. I'm just so sick of fairy books. I'm just
I
so
am too.
yeah. So I like I don't even
Unpopular
want to
opinion
yeah.
moment. Well, also fairies scare me a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the actual ones, not, the sexy
Right.
ones.
Not the I have a velvet covered steel thing.
It's
Those
the
scare me.
grossest. Those also scare me, but for different reasons.
Right.
Ew. I don't want fairy dicks in my life. I don't want it. But the Fae realm, like the actual real Fae, like they're just like really upsetting. They like
Mm-hmm.
steal children, they make doppelgangers of people, they like have these weird rules that you don't know what it is, and they trick you constantly. Like it's awful. So I feel like I would
Yeah.
probably do Underworld too. And there's Cerberus down there. So there's a
Yeah.
dog. That's exciting.
There's a three-headed dog, and I mean that's just more kisses.
Yeah, I think that more kisses. Okay, the last one is, would you rather have an 800-year-old vampire or a giant wood troll be interested in you romantically?
Okay, hear me out.
Okay.
I would much rather have the 800-year-old vampire. And I know that sounds weird. However, I am not a 16-year-old Bella. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I am a
Uh-huh.
grown who has seen some shit. So I feel like it's not the age difference isn't as creepy because at least I am a consenting mature adult.
Adult.
And
Yes.
sometimes vampires can be hot. So I feel
Uh-huh.
like
In
a
a sickly
would
way.
just pale hot, you know, just like I need vitamin D. And I feel like a wood troll, no matter what, I just feel like there's no way he's going to be good looking. And
No.
there's just nothing. It's not, we could have a lot in common, but like a troll,
Yeah.
I just imagine like someone covered in wood, but they're on the internet being like, get back in the kitchen, you know?
Oh my God. That the modern wood troll.
Exactly. So it's like, I will just hope that I'm getting like the Spike vampire from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay, okay. Yes, I
I
like
hope
that
I'm getting
vibe.
that vibe, you know?
Yes. I feel like I would probably go with the wood troll. I'm
I knew
sorry.
it. I knew, but
I
that's
know
your aesthetic, you know?
it's just have this giant dude bro who maybe has a good personality, hopefully, and then like won't kill me. Although in folklore, there's a lot, like lots of trolls are real shitty to women. So I don't know. There's bad and bad choices here.
Well, that's the thing is neither is,
Yeah.
ideal. It's
Yes.
just a pick, the best of the worst.
The the least worst one. I
Right,
love that.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to include Jenna's information in the show notes below, but why don't you let us know more about your big news and where people can find you?
Well, my big news is that my book, Shut Up and Write the Book, is coming out really, really soon.
Yay.
So if you are listening to this podcast, there's a good chance that you are a creative, an artist, possibly a writer. And if that's the case, and you are looking to write your very first book and you don't really know where to start, or even if you do know where to start, but you're just having a tough time because writing a book is super hard, check out Shut Up and Write the Book. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback. I think by the time this goes live, it'll be available in audiobook, but if it's not, it'll eventually be available in audiobook. And it's just a step-by-step guide that breaks down the entire writing process in mostly sequential order. It makes it super easy for you. You also get a ton of humor, straightforward advice. No beating around the bush here. And so, yeah, and if you want to follow me, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm all over the place on all the socials at Jenna Moreci. And of course, you can check me out on YouTube at youtube.com/Jenna Moreci. That's Moreci.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful night in your haunted hotel.
Text me in the morning to make sure
that you survived. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks to all you spooky souls out there for listening to Creepycore and Folklore. Follow on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok if you're looking for more uncanny content. If you have your own tales to tell, you can email creepycoreandfolklore@gmail.com. If you liked this, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts, or tell a friend who might enjoy these stories to spread the word. If you're interested in dark fantasy, check out my Hollowverse series. Ashes is available now in paperback and ebook on Amazon and audiobook on Audible, and the sequel is underway. I'm Iona Wayland, and I'll see you next time.